another San Diego ASA News Brief. This is Eugene Davidovich reporting from San Diego.
Happy New Year, everyone. I hope yours is filled with love, happiness, productivity, and fortune. 2011 is the year we end the war on patients in San Diego and secure safe access once and for all in the city and state. For a lot of patients in San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Monterey, this year started with safe access to their medicine being taken away from them by the San Luis Obispo Sheriff Pat Hedges and the District Attorney Gerald Shea, who, with the cooperation of several narcotics task forces through SWAT-style raids, shut down 7 medical marijuana delivery services. There was at least 15 people arrested over a 3-day period and at least 6 children torn away from their families as a result of the raids. The media, in reporting this story, is basing all of their information on the press release issued by the San Luis Obispo Narcotics Task Force and Sheriff Hedges, which claims that the property they seized in those raids is worth over $3 million, and that all of the, quote, sellers were violating California's marijuana laws because they were selling marijuana. It would appear that the Narcotics Task Force are now experts in medical marijuana laws. They've all now become attorneys. Notice how glaringly missing from these statements are exactly what it is in the medical marijuana laws that these patients violated. According to the Narcotics Task Force, all sales of marijuana are illegal. So let's take a closer look at the investigation. Well, according to the Narcotics Task Force, they were illegally selling marijuana through mobile dispensaries. Based on reports from the San Luis Obispo Americans for Safe Access Chapter Chair Rich Donald, quote, 2 undercover officers obtained valid and verified recommendations with local doctors and scheduled multiple deliveries from almost every collective in the county. No one was approached by an officer without a recommendation wishing to obtain meds. While incarcerated, the people were told that any exchange of marijuana for money was a crime. It appears they are attempting to ignore fair compensation as a means of reimbursement. In another report, according to Pete Miller of Paso Robles, who spoke with SalemNews.com, which ran an article about the raids, he says, quote, a girlfriend of a detective got legal medical marijuana recommendation from a local doctor. She then asked for deliveries from all or most of the services listed, and anybody who made a delivery to this Amy Dobson was raided by the NTF. This sounds very similar to Operation Green RX and Endless Summer here in San Diego, where our very own Narcotics Task Force in February of 2009 raided and targeted dozens of delivery services and charged all the individuals with sales of marijuana, possession with intent to distribute, and all sorts of trumped-up charges. After taking this issue to trial, we learned that, in fact, sales of marijuana to other patients is legal when they're members of a collective. According to reports from the patients on the ground, all the delivery services charged in this most recent raid were verifying recommendations and only allowing legitimate patients to join and receive medicine. Also, the NTF's math doesn't add up. While they are touting over $3 million in seizures, according to Salem News and the current street value of everything seized as part of the raids, the total might be somewhere around $250,000 rather than $3.5 million. To discuss the raids of the patient reaction with us today, again, we have Marcus Boyd of San Diego Americans for Safe Access. Welcome back to the program, Marcus.
Thank you very much, Eugene, and thanks for bringing this to everyone's attention.
Now, what kind of message do you think these types of raids send to patients across the state?
It's exactly the same thing that Bonnie did on 999. With a shock and awe, SWAT-style, county-wide raid of as many people as she could get. And as I recall, everybody that took that to trial with regard to medical marijuana won.
That's right. Now, who do you think is hurt most by these types of raids?
Well, it's obviously the patients. At this point, if I were in San Luis Obispo, I would be terrorized, afraid to go into any dispensary or call any dispensary. I would be, at this point, afraid that the Narcotics Task Force now has my name and address, and that they're going to then come to my house if for any reason I was helping the collective cultivate, which is exactly what they were doing.
And you know, the district attorney in San Luis Obispo has a history of being against medical marijuana. In fact, he targeted Charles Lynch in Morro Bay, where he had a legitimate medical marijuana dispensary that was operating in full support by the city and the city council, and he teamed up with this Sheriff Pat Hedges, who's actually facing a recall effort himself in San Luis Obispo. Do you think they're modeling their investigations based on this, Marcus?
Oh, I do. After, I've had the luxury, I guess you could call it, of sitting through all the trials that did go to trial and see it through. And in doing so, I see that the district attorney is teamed up in this county, at least, with any judge that would listen to her. And she did find one, and that was the last judge that Jovan Jackson had the unfortunate mishap to be in front of. He was stripped of his medical marijuana defense, and I believe that the district attorney in San Luis Obispo has probably had some behind-the-closed-door chamber conversations with like-minded eradicationists, I guess is the best word, or better yet, the Reefer Madness folks, and have decided to continue to vote no on Proposition 215 from the bench.
You know, what also seems very interesting is that these raids are exactly 2 months after a election. That is November 2nd. We had an election, and in Morro Bay, on the ballot, they had a measure that would have banned dispensaries. And overwhelmingly, the citizens of that city voted against that measure. In fact, it failed by over 55%. And these investigations apparently took 2 months. So it sounds like right after they lost with the voters, they went directly after the patients trying to provide safe access in that city. Now, Marcus, how do you think we can prevent this from happening in the future? Is there any way that patients can protect themselves?
Well, rally behind each other and contact their local officials and let them know that medical marijuana is needed in their community. And at this point, rally behind the folks on the coast.
Absolutely. And in fact, there's a rally planned on January 11th at the courthouse. So please keep an eye out for information on Facebook and on the web about the rally, and come out and support all of those patients. Marcus?
I think it's time that San Diego, Americans for Safe Access, look for a common ground with the Child Protective Services and try to avoid the types of things that we've seen here and that we've seen recently now in San Luis Obispo, and that is to kidnap kids. That is the most vulgar thing that the district attorney could possibly do.
And they did it 6 times. It sounds like 6 children's lives were torn apart in these latest rounds of raids in Central California. It is an absolute travesty, and patients across the state are outraged. And these types of actions by bias-driven and overzealous law enforcement has to stop. We need to start holding these politicians accountable. We need to start supporting these recall efforts, and we need to start rallying more people at the courthouses, and we absolutely have to provide court support all the way through to everyone who wants to take it to trial.
I agree. I hope our listeners take a moment to help out San Luis Obispo in any way they can today.
Well, thanks again for being with us today, Marcus. We appreciate all the work that you do in the community and all the work that you do to help protect patients' rights here in San Diego, and we all send our best wishes and support to the folks going through a very difficult time in the central part of California right now.
Thanks, Eugene.
Thanks for tuning in to another San Diego ASA News Brief. To view all of our news briefs, please visit our channel on YouTube at youtube.com/safeaccesssd. Get involved, get active, make a difference. Visit our San Diego page at safeaccesssd.org and join ASA at safeaccessnow.org.